looks like we got a lot of people here. We'll give it another 30 seconds or so for everybody else to join, and then Amaya, I'll let you kick it off.
All right, let's get started. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Amaya Gutierrez. I am the current program manager for City of Miami's Building Efficiency 305 benchmarking and retuning program. I wish to thank you all for joining us in this first 2026 benchmarking training session. We will be hosting another session on May 12th with additional information and more troubleshooting. So feel free to register for that one and any other future trainings on our website. Please be advised that this presentation will be recorded and made available on the website for future reference and training. I will now turn it over to Keisha, one of our Touchstone Energy and Sustainability Program Managers, so she can formally commence the session.
All right, thank you so much, Amaya. Yeah, so thank you so much for joining today. Essentially, we're going to go over, how to benchmark, the requirements, troubleshooting, and then we'll open up the floor to you all for any questions at the end, because it will be a lot of information, but we're here to help and assist you through this process. Okay, so agenda here. We'll first go over the program, benchmarking requirements and retuning, compliance pathways, and then we'll kind of introduce you into benchmarking. So the program's benefits, how to submit a benchmarking report, how to do whole building aggregated data, what to expect after submitting a report, and then just going over the Energy Star Portfolio Manager tool. So, what is BE305? So, the purpose of this ordinance is, commercial buildings contribute 35% of Miami's greenhouse gas emissions. And this ordinance helps to reduce emissions, advance the city's goal of 60% GHG reduction by 2035. It helps owners track their energy use, creates a lot of transparency within their own building and across other buildings within the city, and helps aim to reduce citywide greenhouse gas pollution. How we do this, the city of Miami adopted the Building Energy and Water Consumption Benchmarking and Retuning Ordinance, also known as B305, to guide owners in annual benchmarking, public sharing of this energy data, and retuning buildings with recommended improvements. Okay, so this is kind of the time frame and deadlines. So as of now, all buildings have been phased into the program. So essentially, any building that is 20,000 square feet and larger must comply with B305. As you can see here, we have the building count breakdown of building size across the board, with the largest number of buildings being in that 20,000 to 49,000 square foot compartment here. The benchmarking deadline each year is June 30th. So that comes each year, so this year and every year going forward. And then retuning requirements will also be phased in and implemented into this program starting in 2028 for large buildings 200,000 square feet and larger, 2029 for buildings 100,000 to 199 square feet, and then in 2030 for buildings just under that 100,000 square foot threshold all the way down to 50,000 square feet. So the requirements for these buildings are, like I just mentioned, the annual benchmarking report. So that's buildings 20,000 square feet and larger must report their energy use each year using the Energy Star Portfolio Manager platform. So the Energy Star Portfolio Manager platform, this is essentially a free tool implemented by the US EPA. This is something where you can add 1, 2, 10, however many buildings you would like. You add your building details there and your energy usage. So it keeps a portfolio of all of your buildings in the city that have to comply, depending on how many have to comply with this program. And that's where you store your building details such as year built, gross floor area, operating hours, and where you also upload your energy use data. This platform is pretty much the one-stop shop for reporting. This helps you manage your account, and then is also where you submit your report to the city each year. The performance report, so all covered building energy data will be shared publicly. We do have a map, which I'll go over a little bit later in the session, of all covered buildings that must comply. They have a status on each building, whether or not you're exempt, in compliance, not submitted. So that provides a lot of transparency to the public to see which buildings are complying with this ordinance and which buildings are not complying with this ordinance. And lastly, retuning for every 5 years. So as I mentioned earlier, buildings 50,000 square feet and larger must complete a retuning every 5 years, just to ensure that these building systems are being well maintained, cleaned, and repaired. There's a lot of other benefits with this. It helps building owners save money, and it also attracts a lot of tenants to these buildings because it shows that these building owners are investing a lot in the building and upkeep, and they know that they can be safe and secure in these buildings because they are being maintained and repaired. So key points of the ordinance for buildings. So there's no city fees associated with the submission of the benchmarking or retuning report. We don't require you to pay a yearly fee or anything like that. Also, for the first year of benchmarking compliance, there was no violations issued for that first year. For retuning must be completed by a qualified professional, and this includes correcting low-cost deficiencies with a simple payback of 3 years or less. So this map is kind of gives you a general idea of benchmarking programs that have been implemented across the United States. There's a lot of benchmarking programs also in Canada too. So as you can see here, there's several states that have implemented these programs, such as Washington, Oregon, and Colorado. A lot of cities across the United States, as you can see here down in Miami, Orlando, have also implemented these programs. And a majority of these do go beyond benchmarking. They don't just require annual reports each year. They also require folks to do some kind of retuning requirement and energy efficiency upgrades in their building at some point within that benchmarking period. So what is benchmarking? So benchmarking is essentially a proven way to track a building's energy performance over time. It creates a lot of transparency. It gives the building owner and the tenants a lot of awareness of energy use fluctuations from year to year. It also compares your building's energy use to similar buildings across the board. So essentially, how does your building, let's say it's an office building that's 50,000 square feet, how does that compare to other buildings within the city of Miami that are also office buildings around 50,000 square feet? So it kind of gives you a baseline to compare across the board in the city of Miami or other cities. in their performance and how your building compares. It also helps owners and occupants spot opportunities to reduce energy waste and save money. With my experience with folks that have been benchmarking, a lot of people have been able to spot leaks, like gas leaks and energy spikes that were tied to building inefficiencies. So this transparency really gives the building owner a leg up on identifying any kind of abnormal energy fluctuations in their building, whether that's year to year or month to month, by using that Energy Star platform. The benefits of benchmarking, there's several. These are just a couple that we listed here. Like I mentioned earlier, it helps you understand your building's performance compared to others, helps identify opportunities to save money by reducing energy. So for example, if you were to replace all of your light bulbs with LEDs, you can see, you know, the before and after of that LED replacement by seeing, you know, say in 2024 you were using incandescent and then 2025 you used LEDs. It will show you in Energy Star how your building's energy decreased by implementing that energy efficiency upgrade. Also, it helps support better health and resource sustainability. Tenants are more comfortable within your building. You know, they know that it's a safe and updated place to have their business. It makes it more attractive to tenants to lease at your building, and it just supports a healthier environment by reducing greenhouse gases overall. Benchmarking compliance pathways. So you have pretty much two options here. So most people, they do submit the annual benchmarking report. So this is the typical pathway towards compliance. The report is completed online through Energy Star Portfolio Manager. And then they submit through Energy Star Portfolio Manager with the newest submission link. The first initial report that you submit is going to be the most time consuming. Just that initial setup of your building details, getting your data into Energy Star, and just getting familiar with that platform. So the first year is the hardest, but then after that, it's a lot easier. It's a matter of just maintenance and upkeep, making sure those building details are updated if needed, and just adding your energy usage for the previous year. And of course, we have the help desk to help you through any of these steps, navigate the Energy Star platform. You know, we've been doing this for many years, so we're very happy to help anybody that needs this walkthrough or just to help with troubleshooting this process. Another option could be an exemption. So most common reasons for exemptions are your building operations are completely different than normal. Say, you had a flood at your building, or you had renovations at your building and it was shut down for most of that year, then you would be eligible for an exemption. Essentially, we don't want anybody submitting a benchmarking report where their energy usage is not an accurate representation of the normal building operations during that year. So say if you want to submit your report this year, and last year your building operations were pretty funky due to complete vacancies or, like I said, damage to your building caused the operations to be shut down for a significant amount of time, reach out to the help desk or apply for an exemption. That would be your most likely route there. These exemptions are only valid for one reporting year. So, say your building's shut down for 2 years, you would have to apply for an exemption each year, and they must be resubmitted if it's applicable. Details for these exemptions can be found on the ordinance here. There's several different reasons that you can be eligible for an exemption, so make sure you review those carefully. We have a couple examples down here. So for example, you didn't have a certificate of occupancy, or you had a demolition permit in 12 months to the prior calendar year, so 2025. You didn't have any energy or water service for the entire year in 2025, or it was less than 50% occupied in the 12 months of 2025. Okay, so what do you need to report? So essentially, what you need to report is your energy and water usage, right? So for the Energy Star Portfolio Manager account, this is that excuse me, free benchmarking tool where you will go online and create an account. You'll add your building details. Building details include, your gross floor area. That's a very important one. Year built, hours of operation, number of people that are at that building on a normal weekday, and other details that are required for your specific property use type. Your Miami building ID also must be added in Energy Star. This is a unique ID that's given to everybody. So each ID, this is kind of like your fingerprint. This is like how we are able to link your building with your report. So you must make sure that you add this ID in Energy Star so that we ensure that we receive your report. The ID looks like this. It's a capital M as in Miami, followed by 4 digits. So just make sure that you add that in your report before you send it over. And then, of course, adding your energy and water usage. So most likely your electricity usage is going to be in units of kilowatt hours. You'll also want to add your natural gas if you receive that, monthly usage, propane, any kind of gas delivery. And then you'll also want to add your water usage monthly. It's important that you break out each usage for energy and water by monthly, like 30 to 31 days. This is just how Energy Star wants you to enter it within the system. If you put it in big chunks, like 6 months of usage in one entry, we won't be able to accept that. So make sure that you have your energy and water usage broken out into their monthly usage in Energy Star. And then we have the reporting link down here. So this is important. A lot of people kind of get confused with this, but with the reporting link, we create a new reporting link each year for you to submit through. So just make sure that you grab the newest reporting link off of our website. We have that updated every single year. So this year we have the 2026 Miami data request here for submitting 2025 data. Next year we'll post a new link for 2027 data, or 2027 for 2026 data. So just make sure you're grabbing that new link off our website when you submit your report, or we won't be able to receive your report if you're using an old link. Okay. Whole building aggregated data. So to get aggregated data from Florida Power and Light, you can go to their website and follow their instructions there. And you can also watch our how-to video. I highly recommend you just watch our how-to video first before you dig into the website. The how-to video is very clear and straightforward on how to obtain this data. It can kind of get confusing for a lot of people on understanding which forms to fill out and what to send. So make sure you watch this whole video first. It's only about 5 minutes, I believe, so not too long. Only takes up 5 minutes of your day. So check this out, and please reach out to the help desk if you have any clarifying questions. The key thing to remember here is that if you have 5 or more electric meters, just the building owner will need to provide a letter of authorization for Florida Power and Light. So you're just pretty much signing off a document to yourself saying that, like, yes, I authorize Florida Power and Light to release aggregated data for all 220 meters, let's say, at my building. And then they'll aggregate that data and send it to you in a PDF. And then you just grab that PDF and upload that into Energy Star. It's really nice of them to do this. They can aggregate any building with 5 or more electric meters by simply handing over this letter of authorization, which is the instructions are in here, over to Florida Power and Light. If you have less than 5 meters, which is not as common, so if you have between 1 and 4 meters, or where one account represents more than 50% of the usage at your building, then the building owner and each tenant must provide a letter of authorization. So say you have 4 tenants, so each of your tenants would have to fill out a letter of authorization, each of the 4, and then you would also need to fill out a letter just saying that you approve for this data to be aggregated and sent over. Once those are signed and sent over, then Florida Power and Light will send you a PDF, just like I mentioned above, of your aggregated data broken out in monthly usages. So essentially it'll look like a PDF of like 12 months of aggregated data, and you just put that exactly how it is right into Energy Star. These are just some tips and tricks that are also included in that how-to video. Just make sure that whenever you're talking to Florida Power and Light, make sure that they know that this is a request on behalf of this benchmarking program. When you reach out to them, sometimes you just need to specify that just to make sure that they know that this is a request for a required ordinance that you have to comply with. If you need additional help, you can also call Florida Power and Light at this number here. This is kind of like an example of how to get started. So these are the 3 different steps to get your data from FPL. So you'll fill out the energy data request form and the letter of authorization, as I mentioned before. And then you'll download and fill out the building information template. This is pretty straightforward. It's just adding your address and some of your building number information. And then you just go ahead and fill out, email these forms to energydatarequest@fpl.com. And again, when you email them, make sure that they know, like, hey, I'm sending over this information on behalf of the Florida Power and Light data request for BE305, an ordinance that I must comply with. If you get any hangups or trouble with obtaining your data from FPL, please email the help desk and we'll be happy to help you walk through this process. Additional utility resources here. So for Miami-Dade Water and Sewer, to obtain your data from them, you can call or email here. We will be posting a how-to guide for Miami-Dade Water Sewer on our website sometime this spring. So just check back for updates there. For TICO, you can call and email here. In Florida Gas, you can call this customer support number down here. So for Energy Star Portfolio Manager, again, this is a free online tool offered by the EPA. Thousands of buildings across the United States use this, so it is a reputable platform. This is where most people store and manage their energy usage. They track this, whether it's for greenhouse gas emissions, or it's transparency for themselves and their tenants, or whether it's for ordinances such as the BE305 ordinance. Why benchmark with Energy Star Portfolio Manager? The classic saying is you can't manage what you don't measure. So this just, again, brings a lot of awareness for building property managers and owners to understand how energy is being used at their building, the fluctuations, trends, and abnormalities that they may see year to year or month to month. Over 250,000 commercial properties use this platform. It supports about 80 different property use types, and it provides an energy use intensity. EUI is a good term to get familiar with. So EUI means energy use intensity, right? So this is essentially your energy use at your building per square foot. So essentially it's looking at your 50,000 square foot building and your 200,000 kilowatt hours per month of energy usage, what's the energy use intensity over this square footage of this building? There's a lot of important things that gets factored in energy use intensity. It's not only just your gross floor area and your energy use, it's your property use type. So obviously different property use types use different energy uses or have different energy use over time. So say like a storage center or a warehouse is definitely going to use a lot less energy than say an office or a restaurant. So just make sure when you add your property use in Energy Star that you're adding all of those use types. When you first log into Energy Star, it only lets you add one, but you can add additional use types once you get into Energy Star. So say it's majority office, add that as the use type in Energy Star, and say you have a restaurant and you're also hooked up to a multifamily tower, you can add those separate use types in Energy Star. But it's really important to make sure you're not shorting yourself in Energy Star by misrepresenting your building use details. There's a lot of algorithms and calculations in the background that Energy Star runs to calculate your EUI, and you want to make sure you're being most true to what your building is. So add all those use types there. Make sure you're representing the gross floor area accurately. That's a big one. If you don't have that gross floor area accurate in your Energy Star, we will flag that, and that will impact your energy use intensity greatly. There's also an Energy Star score that everybody can get as long as your property use type is eligible for an Energy Star score. It's kind of like in school, it's like a 1 to 100. It's like A, B, C, D kind of system. So a 100 is the highest score you can get. A 1 is the lowest score that you can get. So it's kind of similar to energy use intensity. It just gives you a number based on what your energy use is. And on average, Energy Star for certified buildings use about 35% less energy. Again, that's because there's a lot of awareness and transparency after people are using this online tool to monitor their energy use. Okay, so there's a lot of tricks to making sure that we receive your report. So this is something really important to pay attention to. These are mistakes that we see over and over again that come in through the help desk because it is confusing. There's a lot of things to understand and just like different nuances. So the first thing is make sure you add your Miami building ID to Energy Star, right? So again, it's the letter M. Make sure it's capital M followed by 4 numbers. So it might be 1234, 2237. Make sure you capitalize the M and then there's no spaces before, after, or in between this when you add that in Energy Star. It's very, very hypersensitive. So make sure you're capitalizing this M, adding the 4 numbers, and there's no spaces at all. If you don't know your ID or you can't find it, we do have a building ID lookup tool that is on our website, but you can also reach out to the help desk and we can help easily find your building ID. Most times buildings have several addresses for different tenants, so you want to try to make sure that you're looking up each address that's at your building. We know it as the tax assessor address, so we might not refer to your building's address as the same address that you do. So that's where people have a lot of issues with finding their ID on the building ID lookup tool. So just reach out to the help desk and we'll help figure that out for you. The second one is just submit using the new link. As I mentioned earlier, we publish a new link to the website each year. Don't use the old links. Make sure you go to our website and use the most recent link. It'll say the year, so it'll say 2026 submission link, and that's for 2025 data, right? So make sure you're using this link to submit. Once you click this link, it'll direct you back to Energy Star, and that's where you submit your report. Make sure you add our email to your safe senders list. We have a lot of people where our email just goes straight to their junk or her spam. So right now, as you're watching this webinar, if you can make sure to add our email to your safe senders list, that'd be fantastic. We just want to make sure that you're getting all of our notifications and reminders and our replies to your outreach. So please make sure you add this, especially if you know that your company has a lot of restrictions to email domains. Make sure you add this. And then lastly, you can check your report status on the BE305 program public transparency map. So if you're unaware of like what the status of your building is, say you didn't get the email, obviously reach out to the help desk if you didn't get an email with your compliance status, but you can also check it on this transparency map. Again, this lists all the buildings on a map in their compliance, so it'll say, you know, not submitted, in compliance, or pending revisions, which means there's report errors or that they're exempt. So make sure you email us, ask us like, hey, what's the status of my report? Don't assume that you're in compliance. Just make sure you double check with us unless you received that compliance notification. Also keep in mind that when you submit your report each year, it's not until the next day that you receive a email from us, whether or not on the status of your report. So you won't get an instant email from BE305. We run a bunch of algorithms and it goes through like an overnight process, so we don't give you that notification until the next day. So be patient. It will send out to you. Just wait a day. If the next day you still don't get that email, please reach out to the help desk so we can troubleshoot and figure out what's going on. Okay, so what to expect after submitting. So again, it'll either be in compliance or pending revisions. And compliance means that you didn't have any errors in your report and you are in compliance for that year. And again, this is kind of like, this is a screenshot of the transparency map. So this shows all the buildings. This is a zoomed in version, but this is all the buildings that have to comply. They have different shapes on them. Red means that they're not submitted. Yellow means that they're in pending revisions, so they submitted a report, but they're just working through some errors. In green means they're in compliance for that year. It also shows the Energy Star score and the EUI of that building, as we discussed earlier. Pending revisions. So if your report does have errors, we will let you know what the errors are, instructions on how to resolve those, and how to resubmit. Another big mistake is that people will get this email, they'll fix their errors, and then not resubmit. If you change any information in Energy Star or you need to resubmit, or you have to go back into Energy Star and update your report and resubmit through Energy Star. We don't get auto-fed all the changes you make to your report. So say you go in there and update your GFA, your gross floor area, we won't see that change in Energy Star until you resubmit it to us. So that's really important. A lot of people just make updates and are like, hey, I made the changes. Like, why am I not in compliance? It's because they did not resubmit their report using that 2026 link again. So that's just like a important thing to remember. Okay, common report errors. We see these all the time come through the help desk. Gross floor area discrepancy. So if you have a gross floor area discrepancy, the best thing to do is to provide us any kind of gross floor area documentation that you have for your building. That could be a blueprint, CAD drawing, or any kind of official document that shows the gross floor area of your building. Make sure to highlight or give a Excel spreadsheet breakdown of that gross floor area so our help desk team can easily see that breakdown on those documents. Sometimes those documents can be like 30, 40 pages, so just make sure to indicate which page and highlight where it says that gross floor area. We get our gross floor area from the tax assessor. So if your gross floor area that you're reporting is different than what we have from the official tax assessor database, we will ask you to clarify and provide this documentation just so either you or we can update our records so it's accurate. Again, this is just very important. We're really looking out for you in the best interest of your report. So please provide this document when asked. This really affects your energy use intensity, so it will benefit you to make sure that you're accurately representing your gross floor area for your building. Two other errors that we get are very low energy use or low or high water use intensity. So for folks with low energy use intensity, that might be because their occupancy was very low, the building was out of commission, it wasn't being used as much, or there was a tenant change. So provide those details. That's very helpful for us. So, if you get this email from us that you have low energy use, just mention like, hey, like we had 4 tenants leave, we've not been able to reoccupy those spaces. And then that might redirect us to have you apply for an exemption if, your building was completely vacant, right? Also, we usually see people using the wrong units for their bills. And a big error we see is people are only entering common area. We need common area and tenant energy use. I can't stress that enough. We need both. We can't just accept common area energy usage. We need the whole entirety of the building's energy usage. That's where Florida Power and Light come into play, where you can ask for that aggregated data so you ensure that you're getting that common area and that tenant area energy usage. For water use, kind of similar situations. If your building was at lower operations or a lot of tenants vacated the space, let us know. Sometimes we will ask for a sample bill. That's always very helpful, just so we can make sure that everything's adding up for the usage that you reported in Energy Star. So just respond to those emails if your report is caught up in pending revisions, and we can move those manually into compliance if you have a reason that makes sense, a valid reason where we can move it into compliance. Otherwise, we'll ask for additional documentation to prove that that data was entered correctly. Okay, this is an important slide. This is what I was talking about earlier, how to resubmit your report. So say you're like, oh shoot, I used gallons instead of kilogallons for my water. Like, I gotta go in and change that. So you go into your Energy Star, you update your data, and then now you need to resubmit your report, right? Because you fixed your errors, now you gotta resubmit. So you must follow these steps to make sure that you're resubmitting your data and we get the most updated report data from you. The only difference is that, once you grab that link again, the 2026 energy or data request, you select generate a new response. From the drop down, it'll refresh that page, then you click send response and follow these steps. When you first submit your report, say you're just doing it for the first time, you'll follow all of these steps except for step 4. Oops. So you'll follow all these steps except for step 4 if you're submitting for the first time. If you're resubmitting, there's this one extra step that's added, which is this step here. You have to click generate a new response from the drop down, then send the response. So essentially you're just saying, hey, Energy Star, refresh my page, pull in the new data that I just submitted through this request, and then you can follow the rest of these steps here. So step 4 is the key one when you're resubmitting your report. All right, and these are some resources that we have here. This is our website, our help desk email, phone. You can also schedule a call with a help center. I highly recommend this. This is super helpful. We can, instead of a lot of back and forth on email or, kind of like on the phone, like talking a lot, like this schedule a call, what we can do is a screen share. So we can look at your computer and look at your account Energy Star, and then we can walk you through any of these steps. We can walk you through submitting, we can walk you through setting up your report, like manually through this screen share. So it's super helpful. So we can see what you're looking at, and we can work through it together. We also have some helpful resources like FAQs, how-to guide, the videos, the ordinance, exemption form, and the Miami greenhouse gas plan down here. So all these links are super helpful. They're all each linked to those websites. So you can go ahead and click on any of these to get you to those websites there. The key one is our main website here. This will get you to our how-to guides, videos, the ordinance. It'll get you to all of this. So I would just start here and kind of familiarize yourself with our website so you can see where the new reporting link lives and all the resources we have available there. And with that, I wanted to open up the floor to any questions that you all may have. If you want, you can just unmute yourself or ask something in the chat, and I'd be happy to answer.
Keisha, there is a question in the chat that I'm answering too, but I submitted my buildings last year through Portfolio Manager. Would this be the same site to report the 2025 benchmarks? So yes, you would log back into your Energy Start Portfolio Manager account, update all of your energy and water data from calendar year 2025 for your property or properties on the Energy tab, and then submit your 2026 reporting year report through the new data request link, which I will also include in the answer here in chat. Hopefully that answers question.
Great, thank you, Kristen. Yeah, and this is our website. So once you come here, this is about FAQs, how to comply. That 2026 link, if you click how to comply, each year the newest one will be linked here. You can click submit your benchmarking report. And then down here, this is the link that will bring you to your Energy Star account and let you proceed to the steps to complete your report, to submit that report. And then here's the exemption request here on our website. And it looks like someone's having trouble with the ID search tool. Do we need to use a specific browser? You used Google Chrome and Microsoft Edge. For the ID lookup tool, let's take a look at that. If you click this here, it should open up. Try incognito mode, Christopher, see if that works. It should be brought up. buildingid.touchstoneiq.com is the website. So this is where you can search by your address or your ID. Most of you will be searching by your address. Less is more here. Make sure you also change the state, province, and city here. So obviously you'll want to click Florida and then go to Miami. And don't put in your entire address here. Maybe just start with the numbers to your address, and then it's more of an elastic search, so it'll search all the addresses that match or similar to your address. If you put something too specific in, it might be too specific for a search engine and you may not be able to find it. So just make sure that you're just adding all the different variants of your address in here to find it. If you get frustrated and can't find it, again, reach out to the help desk. We'd be happy to figure that out for you. If you go to contact here, this is the help center information here. And you can schedule a call easily by selecting this link here. And then we can one of our help desk representatives can hop on with you. Our help desk is really small, which is great because it creates a really personalized experience for you. So you can continue asking for the same person, so then you're working with the same person from start to finish if you'd like for the scheduled call. And again, this allows you to have a screen share with us, so we can look at your Energy Star and see what's going on, troubleshoot, and walk you through that process. Let's see here. Let's see if we have any other questions that we can elaborate on or that we missed in the chat. These questions are great, guys. Like, this is super helpful, so keep them coming. See here. I guess I'll kind of show the website here. These are just like our annual reports from each year. So if you'd like to view those, if you're a stats nerd, you like to look at these things, go right ahead. This is kind of like where we got to benchmarking, like how did we get here, and its requirements. It breaks it down pretty easily. Okay, it looks like the FPL website link provided no longer works. Let's go to the utility data. So for utility data, you'll click here. And if you scroll down, we have all the information for the utility data here. For Florida Power and Light, you can access our how-to video that I had in the presentation right here. So again, this is a 5-minute video. The best 5 minutes of your time is going to be spent right here first. Then you can hop into this website here. Let's click on it to make sure this still works. Oh, thank you, Christopher. So yeah, it looks like this website is not working. This is pretty new. So what we'll do is we'll update this as soon as possible. We'll reach out to FPL and try and get this updated as soon as we can. This did take us to their website to get this, the request in. So we'll immediately try and resolve that right away, and then we'll post the correct website and we'll link it here for you guys. But for now, I would start with this how-to video down here, and then once we get this new link up here, then we can add those here. Well, it looks like Maria may have posted the correct website. Okay, yeah, it looks like it's still doing the 404, so they must have changed this pretty recently. But again, we'll post the correct one here, but for now, go through this how-to video and let the help desk know if you have any questions on that. Yeah, shoot, sorry about that, guys. Hopefully we can get that up and going very, very quickly here. Once we have the Miami-Dade Water and Sewer how-to guide, we will be posting it just as you see for FPL over here on the Miami-Dade Water and Sewer. For now, just contact them and ask for your data. Make sure that they also know that this is a request on behalf of the BE305 program for this ordinance that you are required to comply with. So just providing that context goes a very long way for all of these utilities. So they'll be more upfront and able to give you that data without too much trouble that way. But yeah, this is a very valuable page because this is where we have all that utility information. All right, let's see if there's any other questions I can elaborate on. Again, great questions. Let's see here. And then, yes, a lot of questions on where the recording will be posted. So this is the how to comply section here. So this is where you can get a lot of our how-to videos, recorded trainings. So the recorded trainings will be displayed here for this video. So once we get that recording up and running, again, go to the how to comply, scroll down about halfway, and then we'll have these recordings posted here. These are from the past, from years prior, but we will be posting the most updated video down here for your use. Let's see. And again, maybe I can show how to use this building ID tool. So let's see if I can search something. Again, make sure you're clicking Florida, Miami. This search tool is for many cities across the United States. As I showed you earlier, a lot of benchmarking programs exist in the United States and Canada. So that's why this is kind of like a universal search. So once you narrow down to the state and city, then it'll help direct this to the correct program. So as you see there, I just searched 122. So what it does is it'll pull up any IDs with that number. So it looks like here we have two different IDs. We have M10805 and M11600. And apologies, earlier I mentioned 4 digits, but there's the 5 digits for the building ID. So M and then the 5 digits, numerical digits here. You'll want to enter this into Energy Star exactly how it shows up here. And as you can see, there's 2 addresses, but 2 different IDs. Most likely this situation is it's a large campus, so there's 2 buildings with the same address, but they're 2 separate buildings that meet the 20,000 square foot or larger requirement. So it looks like at this property there's a 22,000 square foot building and a 77,000 square foot building, both under the same address. But yeah, we divulge a lot more information than just the ID once you search it, just to make sure that you're like, okay, is this my building? And essentially, yeah, just make sure you're doing the state and city. Another way you can find your data, if you'd like to, is if you go to the map. So I got to the map here by going to map. So I think this is a great map. This is like kind of like zooming out. This is all of the buildings that have to comply. You could switch the reporting year over here to different reporting years. So as you can see, it's a lot more green for last year because that was the submissions for last year. But if you know where your building is at on a map, be like, okay, my building's like this guy right here. You can zoom in and you can hover over it, and then it'll tell you your ID. So it's a little bit of a different way to find your ID than just kind of using that tool. I think this can sometimes be easier if you easily know where your building is within the city of Miami. You can just look at a big intersection, say these 2 highways here, and then zoom in, find your building, and hover over it. It'll tell the building ID, address, and the status of that building. But that's another kind of trick to finding that ID. But this kind of gives you like the summary of Energy Star score and site energy use for buildings. And if you want to click onto this, it'll tell you, the details for that building. This is open to the public too, so this is that transparency map that I was talking about where people can view different statuses for buildings over time. But again, when in doubt, always come to our website. This is the one-stop shop for everything. It's got our help desk information here, the map, utility information, any FAQs, how to comply with that important new link that we post every year, and then all our resources, right? How-to guides, videos, this recording, and such. All right, looks like we got 2 more minutes. Let's see if there's anything else I can elaborate on here. Let's see. Okay. But yeah, if you would also like to see if you're eligible for an exemption, you can go to the how to comply scroll down and then click this submit exemption request. Again, these are your two options, right? You either submit a report or you submit an exemption, depending on what situation your building is in for 2025. So if you scroll down, you just got to put some basic information in about you, your company, the building itself, and then the reasons for an exemption are all right here. So there's these 5 big reasons. So again, make sure you're paying attention to the language of these. Let's see here. Looks like we got another question. How important is the last step to submit the report? I have a client who updates the information in Energy Star portfolio but never submits the report. Yes, very important. The last step to submit your report is very, very important. Essentially, Energy Star is a federal platform, right? So it's run by US EPA. So that does not talk to our system. Our system, where we actually receive your report, is completely separate. So for the hand to talk to the foot, right? For Energy Star to talk to our system and relay all of that information, you absolutely have to go to our website and click this 2026 benchmarking report and complete the steps on Energy Star. This link, why it's so important, is that it links Energy Star to our system. So once you submit through this report, it runs some algorithms, does those overnight checks, and then pulls your report either into compliance or into pending revisions. So without submitting your report to us, we never even know that you even created a report or did anything on your behalf. Like, it's pretty much like a ghost. So you want to make sure that you're adding that ID, submitting your report to us so we get that information. It looks like we were at time, but thank you all so much. So much for all of your questions. This was super great. We got a big crowd this year. Really excited about that. Please reach out to the help desk for any questions. Like I said, it's a very small, personalized help desk. So, we are happy to help you through any of this process. Again, this is our information here. And look out for those recordings and that new FPL link that we'll be posting to our website as soon as possible. But again, have a wonderful, beautiful day. Thanks again for joining, and enjoy the rest of your week, and have a great weekend.